everyone, it's Katie Crysdale here from Lakeview Aquatic Consultants. I am starting to phase my way out of aquatic leadership. So I'm not stopping cold, but I am starting to phase out my lifeguard instructor courses, my national lifeguard courses, national lifeguard research, swim instructor training, all those sorts of things. I think it's important to stop when it's time to stop. And so in thinking about starting to stop teaching these aquatic leadership courses, I thought I would start to record some of the activities or tidbits that I use in my courses. So if you find it helpful, you can incorporate these activities in your courses in your facility. Any of the activities that I'm going to share on this YouTube channel, they may not align with the current curriculum standard for a program. So do make sure that any classes that you're teaching, you're following the program standards as they're currently established. But these activities I'm going to be sharing are things that I've developed over the years to address a specific learner characteristic or a gap that I've seen as a pool supervisor or an instructor trainer when we get those candidates on the job and they may not have had enough emphasis on a particular activity or concept. So today, one of the things I want to share is what I would do in my lifeguard training. One of the current lessons in the lifeguard training that I do here in Alberta, in Canada, is we do spend a lot of time on public relations, PR, and that includes a game of charades with sample questions where candidates are paired together in front of the class and they have to kind of on the spot come up with a reply and to work through how to deal with a difficult customer, how to deal with somebody in their space, how to dig deep for information if they don't have it, or how to, keep their cool if they're under stress. A lot of those customer service pieces that are really fun to practice and really good on the job training. One of the other activities I do with my candidates, though, that not everybody necessarily does, is we do spend some time with some news articles looking at real life incidents and how lifeguards maybe could have addressed a situation better. So a common one might be different articles that you've seen on the internet where a lifeguard asked a woman who is breastfeeding to cover up. And at least in Canada, that's her charter right to breastfeed anywhere, anytime, as long as it does not pose an urgent safety issue, such as a baby being dropped into the pool or a woman being overwhelmed by waves in a wave pool. So we take these news articles where there are negative interactions that make it out into the media at large, and we rehash them in a classroom setting to try and come up with alternative courses of action. The breastfeeding one is pretty common, but I wanted to share today an older set of articles that I've been using for a long time. It's a pretty unique set of circumstances, but I do think it presents a really positive, like not positive that it happened, but a positive opportunity for the candidates to rise to the challenge of how they would use their lifeguard PR skills in this situation. So this case dates back to 2015 and it took place in Germany. Let me read a little bit here from the article. So I will link to printed versions of these articles down in the video comment below, and you can download or print these articles if you decide you would also like to use them in your upcoming lifeguard training courses. I keep copies of these in page protectors, and then I'm able to pass them out to the group, and then we can discuss them individually or as a group. So the heading for this particular item is man's back tattoo of Auschwitz could have violated Germany's prohibition of public displays of Nazi symbols. This one does date back to 2015. German prosecutors say they are investigating whether a man violated the country's prohibition on the public display of Nazi symbols by appearing at a public swimming pool with a tattoo of what appeared to be the Auschwitz death camp on his back. The prosecutor's spokeswoman said Tuesday another bather took a photo of the tattoo, which also carried the slogan from Buchenwald concentration camp at the pool in Oranienburg, north of Berlin, back in November of 2015. She said that having such a tattoo is legal, but showing it publicly could be considered incitement. The spokesperson would not confirm local reports that the suspect is a member of the far-right National Democratic Party and sits on city council. So this particular article is pretty sparse on the details. Let's have a look at one of the other articles. So this is the primary article that I use in my lifeguard courses. I pass this article out along with many articles, and then the candidates work in groups or pairs to decide what they would do differently or what they would do at their facility. The main conversation that comes up with lifeguard candidates is, what can we do about tattoos? Most of the time here in Canada anyway, you can't necessarily ask somebody to cover up their tattoo unless it's very offensive or graphic. And even then, it's hard to define what offensive is or how you might engage with the customer, because what offends one person may be considered art to another person. In Germany, the laws are a little bit more clear in terms of prohibiting Nazi or any sort of propaganda that could be construed as relating to Nazi Germany or Hitler. A pretty Spartan article, but it does prompt a lot of discussion with the candidates. From there, the gaps that I fill in are that later it was discovered that this was a person who was a local member of parliament on the city council who had this tattoo. This person did either leave the facility or put on a t-shirt. It was difficult to locate the person with the tattoo, and the tattoo was photographed by somebody who was offended by the tattoo. And so this leads to a really good conversation in the lifeguard training about what is appropriate. Can we police tattoos? Can we police the attire, the bathing attire that people are wearing? And generally, it leads to a broader discussion of independent freedom and what is considered graphic or obscene, unless they are working at a facility with a specific dress code or policy. So this is one of several articles that I used, and I just wanted to share it because it could be a great topic for your next lifeguard course or your next in-service training. It's not a long activity. It's more just to pass out these articles and spend 5 or 6 minutes going around the room, and people are able to share their opinions on what these articles mean in terms of facility policies. I find a lot of pool people, lifeguards, swim instructor training courses, we spend all of our time on pool policies, and then our staff get into trouble when it comes more to dry policies like admission, supervision, bathing attire, general comportment in the facility. That's where they're maybe not equipped to deal with something that's not a clear black and white pool safety policy. Somebody coming in with a graphic tattoo may not be as an obvious either facility violation if it is, or what does that look like at your facility. Let me know in the comments below if you do something similar in your lifeguard training or in your staff in service. What are the other news articles that you use to engage with your candidates and to get them discussing what is or is not appropriate at your facility?